Today is Thursday, December 5th. This is Noreen Johnson, and here are the good news headlines of the day. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was slammed Wednesday after she compared a Tennessee law banning gender transitions for minors to past laws banning interracial marriage. Jackson and the other justices heard over 2 hours of oral arguments during the U.S. versus Scarametti case, which involves the constitutionality of state laws banning gender transition medical procedures for minors. U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar argued that state laws have the effect of sex discrimination since the minor's gender is key when determining specific medical treatments for those seeking to transition. Jackson's comments caused an uproar on social media. Matt Gaetz, for example, called Jackson's statements an embarrassment to the Supreme Court. Greg Scott, Senior Vice President of Communications for Alliance Defending Freedom, said this: "Supreme Court Mad Libs, we are living in unserious times." And then this, authorities are still investigating mysterious drone activity observed several times in northern New Jersey in recent days, including the vicinity of President-elect Trump's Bedminster Golf Club. Multiple videos show drones flying in Somerset and Morris counties over the past few weeks, including December 1st and December 3rd. In a video from November 25th, a Morris County resident named Mike Walsh spotted 3 drones flying over Black River Middle School in Chester. On Tuesday, the Federal Aviation Administration confirmed to Fox News Digital that an unusual drone was spotted in northern and central New Jersey skies on November 18th. In response, the FAA issued 2 temporary flight restrictions. One of the flight restrictions involves the airspace above the Trump property and is in place until the end of this week. The CEO of insurance giant United Healthcare was gunned down Wednesday outside a luxury midtown hotel in a brazen targeted attack by a chillingly methodical killer who used a firearm with a silencer, according to police. Brian Thompson was repeatedly shot by a masked gunman who had been waiting outside the Hilton Hotel along 6th Avenue, where the CEO was hosting an investors conference. The cold-blooded gunman, who remained on the loose late Wednesday, could be seen in disturbing surveillance video obtained by the Post, calmly firing multiple gunshots into Thompson at about 6:46 a.m. Investigators firmly believe a phone found in an alleyway near the Hilton belonged to the gunman and obtained a search warrant to comb through its contents, sources told the Post. A manhunt was underway for the suspect as the NYPD and Crime Stoppers offered a $10,000 reward for information. In other news, several Republican lawmakers introduced legislation to clarify that the terms male, female, and sex, among others, refer to the biological distinctions between men and women when those words are used in laws. The Defining Male and Female Act of 2024, introduced by Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas, aims to prevent government officials and courts from reinterpreting those terms through the lens of gender ideology by identifying men and women based on self-identification instead of biological distinctions. According to a news release, the legislation would restore the legal right to reserve girls' and women's sports and scholarships for biological girls and women. The news release also states that the bill would restore the sex separation of restrooms, locker rooms, dorm rooms, prisons, and shelters for victims of sexual assault. We must codify the legal definition of sex to be based on science rather than feelings. He went on, with our legislation, we can fight back against the Biden-Harris administration's assault on our children. And then this, Americans paid for hundreds of thousands of meals that went to al-Qaeda-affiliated fighters in Syria, federal prosecutors revealed in announcing charges against the non-governmental organization employee who they say was responsible for the diversion. Mahmoud al-Hafyan, who ran the organization's Syrian division, skimmed as much as $10 million worth of meals funded by the U.S. Agency for International Development. The meals were supposed to go to Syrian civil war refugees. Mr. al-Hafyan allowed members of the Nusra Front, an al-Qaeda-linked terrorist organization, to collect the meals, U.S. investigators said as they unsealed an indictment last week. Mr. al-Hafyan cooked the books to hide the diversions, but authorities said 2 whistleblowers reported him. They suggested he then faked a kidnapping to argue that he was forced to divert the food kits, but the details and timing undercut his claim. All told, 380,000 meal kits were skimmed off for the Nusra Front in what authorities called a shocking abuse of U.S. taxpayers' generosity. And then today we celebrate the feast day of Saint Savas. Saint Savas is the patron saint of monasticism, monks, and hermits. He ran away from home several times, and by the time he was 8 years old, he ended up in a monastery. He was the youngest brother there, and many were astounded by his virtue. His two uncles fought for custody of the young boy and his estate and planned to arrange marriage for him, but God had other plans for the future saint's life. Saint Savas, pray for us. And those are your daily good news headlines. This is Catholics for Catholics. May God bless you, and may God bless the USA.